nothing to do with us, Gov. Nothing that we have done has made any situation worse. Always blaming something else, whether that's Ukraine or the COVID inquiry. And I'm pretty certain that's what they'll be picking up before they hear.
If you don't know who that guy is, that's SNP MP Pete Wishart, and chair of the Scottish Affairs Committee. And on the 11th of September 2023, the topic on the agenda was about cost of living and the impact on rural communities in Scotland, where Pete Wishart asked these people.
I'm Richard Holden, I'm the Minister for Roads and Local Transport.
I'm John Lamont, the Minister for Scotland at the Scotland Office.
Amanda Solloway, Minister for Consumers and Affordability.
This question, and then watch the excuses flood out.
Whole inquiry. During the course of this inquiry, people in the UK, and particularly in rural areas, have endured perhaps the biggest shocks in their daily living costs since records have begun. They've endured record-breaking inflation rates, stratospheric fuel prices, mortgage rates going through the roof, a wage squeeze, and an erosion of living standards that we've probably never witnessed in the modern political age. Why have you all allowed this to get to this stage? We'll start with you, Minister Solloway.
Well, as you know, obviously one of the key things was the Ukraine and the invasion, the illegal invasion that Russia inflicted on Ukraine. And as a result of that, it gave an unprecedented, a strain on the energy market. But I think it's fair to say that there's two things. We have created, as you know, we're here today, well, I'm here today representing the new Energy Department. And for me, that's a really important part of that, is really focusing on what energy means. I know you said keep it short, but also just to say, I'm a Minister for Consumers and Affordability. And on my very first day, one of the things I made incredibly clear is that we must not make vulnerable people more vulnerable. So there are exceptional circumstances that have led us to this place. However, I would also indicate, and I'm not going to repeat all the things that we have done as a government, but there are many things that we have done to mitigate the situation we had last year, but clearly we have this year, and then a long-term plan as well.
Mr. Holden, what about you? Why has it got so bad? And we'll come into the sort of issues that you're doing, and we're really keen to explore this, but the combination of issues, it's not just the war in Ukraine, it's Brexit, there's all sorts of issues to do with the mini-budget last year, but why has things got so bad?
Well, I think the truth is, building on Amanda's point, on Minister Solloway's point, is that the Ukraine crisis and the Russia's illegal invasion happened on the back of another very significant worldwide event, which was the global COVID pandemic. It's quite clear to me, and from speaking to international partners as well as speaking to friends in the devolved administrations, that those two things together, one especially following so quickly on the back of the other, really caused huge impact. So when you had an inflationary issue returning on the back of the COVID pandemic as a global economy opened up, you then had the surge in international fuel prices on the back of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. So I think those were the overriding issues which have really hit the country for six. And I'm sure Minister Lamont and others will go into it in more detail. But if you look at the amount of support provided by the UK government, you're talking of one of the top nations in Europe in terms of per household support through that period as well. And I think it's only because of over the last decade or so, a relatively strong stewarding of the public finances that we've been able to actually deliver some of that support, whether it's that massive support for households last year, whether it's things like the furlough scheme during COVID, that have actually enabled us to actually weather the storm.
And lastly to you, Minister Lamont, on this, is it all because of external issues, COVID, Ukraine? Is there anything that the government's done which has exacerbated the situation and made things matter worse for people when it comes to this cost of living crisis?
Well, Chairman, as my colleagues have said very, very clearly, I mean, all countries are facing similar challenges. I mean, the war in Ukraine, the illegal war in Ukraine has put huge pressure on energy bills. The aftermath of the pandemic has clearly had an economic shock here in the UK and across across Europe, indeed most of the world. But because of the actions that this Prime Minister and this government has taken, it has lessened the hit that many households in Scotland and across the UK would have felt. I mean, we should not forget that the support package which the UK government was able to put in place totaled £94 billion, which averaged £3,300 per household across the years 2022, 23, 23, 24 as well. But for those actions, the difficulties would be far, far worse. The UK government took action to mitigate the hit that households in the UK would otherwise be facing.
It's nothing whatsoever to do with the disastrous mini-budget from last year. It's had no impact on house prices or mortgage rates.
The reason why the global economy is facing these challenges is entirely down to the war in Ukraine and the aftermath of the pandemic.
Entirely down to the war in Ukraine.
Mr. Wishart, I'd just pick up on that. I mean, interest rates in the United States, for example, are higher than they are here in the UK. Interest rates are rising in Europe, almost to the same levels. If it was the case, as your thesis seems to point out, that there are major things that the UK government could have done, then why would it be the case on the other side that, for example, our economic growth is now larger and we've recovered more quickly from the pandemic than our major European partners like France, Germany and Italy? Those are the facts of the situation. Those are the internationally recognised statistics. They're not forecasts. Those are the facts on the ground. So so I'd have to agree with my friend from the Scottish office that it's quite clear where we are in that
I just
global
think there'll be
picture.
lots of people watching this session, listening with great interest, hearing the succession of UK ministers saying nothing to do with us, Gov. Nothing that we have done has made any situation worse. Always blaming something else, whether that's Ukraine or the COVID inquiry. And I'm pretty certain that's what they'll be picking up before they hear back.
Bingo, Pete Wishart. Zero responsibility taken whatsoever. Promise everything, deliver nothing, and then blame everyone else for their own shortcomings. And then rinse the public purse while they can, as fast as they can, get all defensive and play the victim and accuse all those who call out their inadequacies of politically point scoring. Just pathetic, aren't they? But hold on to them excuses. Remember them, because I'm going to have some fun with them in the next few committee meeting videos on this committee meeting, you could say, because it does get kind of tetchy. But anyway, if you want to watch more tetchy Scottish Affairs committee meetings, you might want to watch this video here. So I shall leave the video here until the next time. Farewell, my friends, and take care.